Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today we're going to be dueling magic students trying to pass our course in AlakaBlast. In this little card game, each player is trying to gather gems, and you gather those gems by challenging the other players to duels, revealing a card from your hand at the same time, and beating them either in strength or in an elemental challenge, and it's your choice if you're the one starting the fight. There's also in the game some hidden information in your hand, hidden from you, that is, facing away from you, that you are going to be asking information about so that you can figure out what those cards are. Manage those two things, information gathering and dueling, and you might come out on top. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of it. In the game, you're trying to be the first one to get to a certain number of these gems. So for example, with 4 players, if you are the first one to get 5 of these gems, you are going to be the winner. And the way you get these gems is by challenging other players to a duel with cards from your hands. The cards are broken down into 5 elements, and then numerically they have anywhere between a 0 and a 7. So I'll show you. For example, this card here is a fire card with a value 1. And we see they go from 1s to 6s with a single 6, but 3 1s in each element. Here we've got one of these nature cards with a value 4, and so on for all the other ones. There are also 5 of these shadow cards and 5 of the light cards. The light cards will always be 0, and the shadow cards will always be 7s. All right? Whenever you challenge someone to a duel, you are going to pick either an element or you are going to pick a value. Both players will reveal simultaneously a card from their hands, and you will compare and see who the winner is. The winner gets a gem, all right? So you need to be aware that these, again, will always be 7s, and therefore the strongest card numerically, but also the weakest card based on elements. Because when you are doing a duel, the number is easy. If you pick pure strength, that's very easy to figure out. If you're doing the elements, you'll see that light beats everything else. Shadow loses to everything, even though it is the 7 numerically, like I said. But then the other 3 in the middle are basically rock, paper, scissors, right? With water beating fire, fire beating nature, nature beating water there. So now you understand how the duels work. Let's talk about what the players are holding in their hand and how they will gather information about some cards they're holding that they don't know anything about. So to set up the game, we're going to give each player 4 cards. But of those 4, there's 2 they can see and 2 that they cannot see. So we'll pretend, for the sake of our example here, that we are holding these cards so that I can see 2 of these that were dealt to me. And the other 2 are facing away from me. I'm not allowed to look at these. Other players can look at them, though. And everyone is holding 2 that they cannot see. So on my turn, I am going to do one of 2 things. It's listed over here on the player 8. I am going to challenge someone to a duel, or I could ask for information. If I ask for information, someone else is going to, I'll pick the player, and they have to give me some information about one of these cards I'm holding that I don't know anything about. So in this instance, for example, they might say this card is a water card. Great, now I know that. Next time I ask someone for information, I will say, okay, give me some information. I know this one's water already. So they can't tell me that. So they might say, this card is a 6. Okay, now I know that. One thing they cannot do is exclude information or give me partial information that would apply to several cards. So for example, to change up my hand here, if they're going to give me information and I say, I know that this is a 2 and this is a 1, give me information, they would have to say, these are both water. They cannot just say, this is water. Because them saying to me, this is water, also lets me know this one is not, right? That would be true for any of these. So if they're telling me, this is nature, I also know this one isn't, by that very statement. Now, if it's a special card, like one of these special cards, obviously, they cannot tell me it's a 0, and they cannot tell me it's a 7, because I know exactly what card it is. So for those, they would have a single piece of information to share with me, and that is very simply, this card is a special card. And if they are both special, then they would say, Both of these cards are special cards. At that point, I still don't know if they are light or shadow, though, because they're both special. If they were both special, they would say these are both special, and I don't know if they're the same card, if they are different. I would not know that. So that's how you ask for information. The other thing you can do on your turn, like I said, challenge someone to a duel. You pick someone at the table. You have to give them some sort of information that they don't yet know. You are then going to pick, if we are fighting an elemental fight or a strength fight, and we will both simultaneously pick a card from our hands and reveal them without the other player seeing that. So you can just kind of, put your hand somewhere and then flip one over. You can pick one of the ones that you've learned information about. You can pick one that you're not sure about. Either one works. Once both of those have been revealed, so for example, let's say I say, I'm going to do an elemental fight. And then we reveal these. I'm challenging this player. They reveal that, I reveal that. Well, since I did an elemental fight, light here is going to beat everything else. So I lose. They are going to get a gem for that. We discard both of these cards, and then we both replenish. The winning player, the one who just got the gem, gets a card they cannot look at. So this would be, again, facing away from them. The losing player gets a card that they can look at. And so my hand of cards will not always be two facing out, two facing in. It'll change on how well I'm doing. If I keep winning, I'm going to have fewer and fewer cards facing towards me, so I'll have to slow down and get more information. And players might also target me because I'm not quite sure what I'm picking. I'm making a bit of a blind duel there as I'm picking something and hoping that I beat them. So that's how that works. And you can also bluff players a little bit. As you're about to go into a duel, you might say to someone, we're going to do a strength duel. This is a special card, or what have you. They might say, actually, these are special cards in this case. And then I don't know, are they telling me that because they're both terrible and in a strength fight, i.e. they're both zeros? Or are they trying to bluff me? Should I play one of these? So there you go. Again, trying to get to a certain number of these based on the number of players. With 4 players here, 5 of these will do it. As soon as you get to 5, you are going to be the winner of the game. And that is how you play. All right, so that is AlakaBlast here. Let's talk about it. We're going to start at the top with the theme and the setting. The setting here is a magic school. These are supposed to be the worst students at that school, and they are trying to pass their class, I guess, by beating each other with, flinging spells or something. It's okay. It's a bit generic of a theme. It needed a theme to wrap around these mechanisms, I imagine, and this works well enough. The rock, paper, scissors thing being the usual: water douses fire, fire burns nature, whatever. It's okay. I don't particularly like it, but it's not terrible, and it shouldn't get in the way of teaching. The only thing players need to internalize, which is not logical, is the light being value 0 and the darkness being value 7 always. Those things don't really make any sense. But, it is what it is. The aesthetics, I think, are pretty good. The artwork is nice. All of the artwork on the cards of each different type are almost always the same. They're not all the same, but there's a few different pieces of artwork. The card quality is very good. This is nice linen finish cards, great snap to them. Very easy to read and understand what we're looking at here. I like the cartoony look of everything. The anthropomorphic, octopus and whatever that other one is, a moose, I guess. An owl. They're cute. I like the artwork. I like the way the cards feel. I think this is a good production. And then the gems are functional. They're nothing fancy. They don't need to be. Everything fits back into this tiny little box very well. That's good. The replay value is pretty good. The game has some neat developing play, especially if you play with the same players, because you then can get into a little bluffing, ideally, a little trying to read the player and what they're likely to try to pull on you, not just following mechanically what's going on. There's not a tremendous amount of depth here, don't get me wrong, but I think if you are playing with the same players more than once, there will be a little bit of that bluffing that sneaks into the game. Does this person like to bluff? Are they trying to mislead me with the information they gave me? That sort of thing. A little bit. The game arc is cool. I like some of the ideas here. The game doesn't feel particularly original, and by that I mean it's kind of borrowing mechanisms from very well-known games, mainly Hanabi. Though that game is cooperative, so there is that. And but the way it wraps up everything around those two main concepts, the dueling thing is very straightforward. Though I do like the two, the elemental thing and the strength thing sort of at odds with each other. I think that's a nice way to do that. And then the information, the what's facing away and all that. But my main, I think the most interesting part, or the cleverest part of the game is the fact that when you win a fight, you get closer to winning because you get one of those gems. But your new card is facing away from you, and the losing player gets a new card that they can see immediately. As a subtle and interesting catch-up mechanism, that works really well. And that's my favorite rule in the game, actually, that concept. Ease of play is okay. There's a lot of little rules here for what is really just a simple, quick, 20-minute little card game. Especially the rules for what information you give and how, and what you may and may not say, and how you deliver that information. There's a lot of rules there for something, again, very short and simple. I can't really think of a way to streamline that more than they did. But yes, if you put this down for a while and then need to pick it back up and teach it to someone, and you haven't had it in your head for a while, it might be a little bit more of a rough teach than you are maybe hoping for. So be aware of that. And then lastly, tactics, luck, strategy. There's some interest here, some bluffing. Like I said, it's not tremendous. You are risking sometimes, doing a strength challenge with a 5. You were taking a risk there. I suppose you could go deeper than that and know what cards have been eliminated and that sort of thing. That sounds like a little too much for what this amounts to, ultimately. But you could do that. There's some aspects there, and I really do enjoy a little bit of the bluffing of like, this is a special card. Now I'm going to challenge you in strength. Is that a 0 or is that a 7? Am I telling you that so you won't play it? But you know that I would do that kind of thing to you. So it might be a 7, and I'm telling you that to make sure that you don't play it. Because I want you to believe it's a 0, but it's actually a 7, or maybe I know that you know that. And therefore you get into that bluffing. That's neat. I do like that idea. Generally, though, like I said, pretty straightforward game. So there you go. I like this one. I think it stands out from the crowd. Theme is the kind of magic users at school theme we've seen before. I do like the artwork. I think the artwork here does stand out for me. There's something about these anthropomorphic animals being clearly animals, but also very much students, and they're kind of like illustrated in like a hip way. They're neat little students with the backpacks and it's well done. I like the look. So I like that. I like I said, the quality. I think the game does stand out from usual little card fillers. It gets bogged down a little bit in some of the rules, but not too bad. I like this one. It was something fresh. It felt pretty fresh. None of the mechanisms are very new or particularly original, but it's a nice stew. It's a good mix of flavors. So AlakaBlast from me is going to get a 7 out of 10. That is a seal of approval. I like it. I would recommend it if you enjoy these kinds of games. If you want something that you can play with a family, you can play with friends, a very light-hearted kind of game. Portable, you can throw this into a bag and take it with you. This is very well done. So AlakaBlast gets a thumbs up from me. It's a 7 out of 10, like I said, and that's gonna do it, folks. My name is Zee Garcia. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.